Hey everybody, Jaya Savannah here, Holistic Business Guru. And I want to talk to you today about an important marketing term called your why, also often called your big why. And some of us were having a discussion in one of the Facebook groups, the one for holistic estheticians, body workers, and coaches, which I'll link that group link in the show notes after I'm done being live. We were talking about the concept of your big why, and I want to explain that to you in my perspective. So first of all, what is your big why? The big why is the reason why you are in the business that you're in, okay? And the reason why it's called the big why is it's an important piece of your marketing because it ties in with your brand story. And, what is your brand story? Maybe even I'll roll that back a little bit for you. So when you're doing your marketing, especially if you're some kind of a holistic expert where your work is service-based, people want to find ways to connect with you as a person. And that's true more and more as we become a personality-driven kind of marketing machine out there. You'll even see personality businesses selling merchandise, okay? Like think of companies like Patagonia that does the sports. There's lots of them, right, where you see the founder has a big story that ties into marketing products. But when you're in a service-based business, oftentimes it really kind of comes down to marketing you. I mean, number one, you're marketing the results you provide, but you're also marketing you as a person because people have to feel that they know, like, and trust you. So where the big why fits into it is if your marketing pieces, like maybe your about page, your bios on your social media, anywhere where there's a snippet that kind of tells your story, your big why is going to compel people to getting to know where you're coming from. Like, why are you doing the work that you do? What are your values? What are your ethics? What are your motivations? What are the insights that you've learned? And all of these things make a difference for likability. And I think they also, as far as practitioners go, will help people decide if you have the right philosophy for them, right? Especially if you consider that sometimes you'll have people who are a pretty advanced client who's maybe been to a lot of different practitioners. In fact, I think people that have, chronic health issues especially, right? Sometimes they've been to many doctors, many practitioners. They're seeking to find someone who has not only the ability to produce results for their condition, but they're seeking someone who is on the same page with them philosophically, okay? I think you as practitioners are probably really choosy that way. I know I am. You want someone who you get. And so having your big why clear on your marketing stuff makes it easy for people to read that and go, oh, yes, that person's really cool. I relate with them. Or they can be inspired by you. And so it really, starts to create sort of a level of mutuality and the first step of a relationship. All right. So the problem I see sometimes with the big why work when people are trying to do this in marketing is, one, it's really hard sometimes to figure out what you're good at, right? That self-inquiry can be really hard. By the way, I want to interrupt my thoughts just for a second here. I'm looking at my screen because I have notes there. What I also want to say is that if you can hear me, you can type questions and comments on the Facebook window right below this video. So if you can hear me, you might give me a shout out. I want to make sure that you can. Okay, so part of the problem that comes up when people go to create their why is it's really hard to be self-reflective and figure out what it is. Now, sometimes your why was a really deliberate decision, in which case it's actually pretty easy. So, for example, when I first was deciding to make the pivot from doing spiritual life coaching, which included a lot of other things besides business. I had a lot of people coming to me for business, but I also did things like relationship coaching and other things. And when I made the pivot to doing business coaching, my big why was very, very deliberate. I mean, I remember writing it all out on paper when I was comparing, which route I wanted to go. And for me, it was three things really. The first was that I knew that, people work a lot, and if I could impact someone's work life, I'm actually affecting them for the majority of their time. We work more than we do anything else. So I felt like affecting career was very important. My other part of my big why is that I know that if we can change the face of holistic healthcare and holistic beauty, and we can start to make an impact collectively to have those things be more in alignment with people's, spiritual selves, their physical selves, a healthy model as opposed to, say, like the Western, model or that. I also felt like maybe if we all got together as holistic-minded people, we could actually overthrow a little bit of the way business is being done. I didn't go into being a business coach because I love business. There's a lot of like the business as usual stuff that's really actually a clash with me. And I had, kind of a little bit of a subversive idea that maybe together, if we all get really good at business, we can change the way things are done in this world. And you know what? That is actually happening, right? We have a big paradigm shift happening. Just one little piece of that bigger thing, as are you. And then lastly, the big why for me was that I know that if I was working with other people that are actually, helping people in the treatment room, I'm leveraging my ability. So prior to that, when I was just doing the spiritual life coaching work, I was working one at a time with people, but I felt like by working with practitioners, I'm leveraging my ability. If I can help heal the healers, that work gets leveraged out. Okay, so that's my big why. Very, very clear, right? I remember the day I wrote it down. I remember the day I decided and committed to my niche. Now, great, that's easy, Jaya. Well, it wasn't like that for me. The other way people's stories sometimes go is that you just sort of evolved into doing what you do, right? It wasn't like a really clear aha moment like that. And that's okay. That, like I said, that's a really normal experience too, that it might just be an evolution of something you're doing and you sort of feel like it's not so clear. And I'll give you some tips to get out of that. The third sort of way I see people's why going is also really common, and if this is you, I want to make sure I address it, is that some people have a why that is it's really personal and it's not relevant to your potential customers. So, for example, let's say your big why is that you wanted to get the hell out of your corporate job and do something different. That might be applicable if you're someone who's like a coach, right, teaching people how to quit their yucky job and do something different, but it might not be applicable, let's say, if you're an esthetician, right? I mean, it could be part of your big why, but it's not really relevant to the client. You see, it doesn't really teach them anything. Or your big why might be that it was the easiest thing for you to do, right? Maybe you were transitioning out of something else. Maybe you were working at a spa or something, and you became a solo practitioner because you couldn't stand your boss anymore. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of reasons why we make big career changes in our life, right? Maybe you needed more money. Maybe you moved. Those kind of whys are your personal big why, but they may not translate to being the kind of thing you would put on your about page because it's just not relevant to the work that you're doing with your clients. So there is a remedy for those. If you're getting stuck because you don't have a big, obvious why, there's a few different ways you can go. So one of them is you can create a list of the things you believe. So here what we'd be doing, instead of putting the focus on you personally in your story, you might step back and write down, like, what are the top 10 things you believe about your area of expertise? Okay, so it'd be sort of like a manifesto, if you will. In fact, I even have a manifesto on my site, right? I sat down and wrote down, the 7 or 8 things that I believe. So your big why could just be that. It doesn't have to necessarily be about the reason you made the career choice you are. It could be about, the work you're doing and what you believe is possible for that, right? The why can be out ahead of you, the thing that you're striving for, the thing that you believe in. Another way to do your why and make it completely relevant is to write it in terms of a vision that you have for the future. right? What's your vision of the world? Like if you're a holistic healer, what's your vision if everybody was healed and healthy, you know, especially related to the modality that you do or the root causes that you like to work in, okay? What would be your big vision? So your big why doesn't have to be an explanation of how you got from where you were to where you are. Your big why could also be the thing that drives you forward. All right. Those are my quick tips on the big why. I'd really like to answer your specific questions, and I can do that in the comments section. So post them down below, and I can give you some individual coaching on that. And I'll type up a link to the Holistic Esthetician and Coaches group where we were having that conversation if you want to join in there. And also, I'd like to invite you to join me at my private Facebook group, which is Guru HQ. And that's a mastermind for holistic experts. And I'll put the link in the show notes for that as well. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. I hope you have an awesome day, and I will see you soon.